Hi, I'm Glenn Garvin, Chief Servant Officer, Life Center Church. We are in a series called Friends, Episode 3. I don't know if let me boot that off just because of that. So, Episode 3, the one about the tunnel of chaos. And we've been talking about friendship. We've been talking about, like, why even have friends? We've been talking about making friends. And this week we're talking about how do we keep them. Because I believe keeping good friends is harder than making them. And so we're going to dive into this whole aspect of what's called the tunnel of chaos. And that will make sense as we go further. But, what's it take to make a friend? We talked about that. It's more easy for some than others. Obviously, talked about how people think it's all about personality. I did not have a personality of being French, making friends. Shared some of those stories that were difficult for me to make friends. But what's it take to keep a friend? That's where we're focusing on this week for sure. How can we turn a casual acquaintance or acquaintances into great friends? How can we get beyond surface talk about the weather or politics? What does it take to go deeper and really invest in someone and have them do the same for you? Let's find out what God's Word says about keeping great friends. Most of this is out of Proverbs. I'm just amazed with Proverbs. I love Proverbs. The wisdom writers do it right for us. They're showing us so much of who we are, what our humanity looks like in relation to God's creation, us, and how we respond in relationships to others. It's just fascinating. So the theme of friendship in some ways or another, it goes all through the books of, chapters of Proverbs, okay? And I would just say this, in making, your friendships better, there's no better time to start than now. It takes time, work, investment. Why bother with all that? Because to make a lifelong friend with this unbreakable bond of love, it is totally worth it. Keeping good friends is so much harder than making them, but its rewards are far beyond what it takes to just journey through this tunnel of chaos and end up arriving on the other side with a richer, more fulfilling life. I absolutely believe that. God built us, He knows us, tells us all about how to do life together with friends. So the first point I want to put up right away is this thing I call tunnel of chaos, right? It's not always a tunnel of chaos. I just thought it was a much better descriptor than saying conflict. I used to believe that only conflict, that great friendship had to go through some kind of conflict. But now I realize tunnel of chaos encompasses much more. It could be crisis. It could be just about anything that friends go through. And so it actually makes it, right, or makes it or breaks it. We're either building it or bombing a friendship through these tunnel of chaoses that we face. There are friends who destroy each other, says Proverbs. There are friends who destroy each other. But a real friend sticks closer than a brother. This is out of Proverbs 18:24. And in that, you kind of get the fundamentals of where we're going here. Wayne Headland writes this about the tunnel of chaos. He said the tunnel of chaos is that tunnel that leads from artificial to authentic relationships. You enter the tunnel when you choose to engage in crucial confrontations with a solid commitment to hold steady until you've reached a positive resolution and a deeper friendship. Isn't that something? So this first point is that the great friendships that we want and lack in are all about going through things together. Not every friendship has it, but the majority have these, either tunnel of chaos or some kind of crisis. And it is okay. It is natural to go through this. Second point, it becomes one of the most difficult things in not making a friend, but keeping a friend, is this word under reconcile, right? It is this theme of making things, patching things up. And this is out of Proverbs 17:9. It says, love prospers when a fault is forgiven. I mean, I could stop right there. Love prospers when a fault is forgiven. That's it. But it continues. But dwelling on it separates close friends. This is out of the New Living Translation, out of Proverbs 17:9. Reconciliation becomes one of the hardest things for a great friendship to get on its way, to go through that tunnel of chaos like I talked about, and end up on the other side. Here's another one out of Proverbs 10:12. Hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers over all wrongs. So you see this idea that great friendships are not ignoring hard times, not ignoring issues that come up, No, actually, it means that these friendships have the ability to be resilient, uh, uh, be able to reconcile, if you want to say it this way, is what number two, the point is here. Colossians 3:13. This is Paul talking to the churches in Colossae. Paul says, make allowance. I mean, give some, think about a child's allowance, but give allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. Here it is right there. This whole topic of what has to happen for us to increase the odds of keeping a friend. I like to say this. There is this bitter or better, right? The crossroads of your choice. Bitter or better. Crossroads, your choice. When you have been offended, hurt, or disappointed by someone, you will come to the crossroads of bitter or better boulevards. One boulevard, one will take you to a city called Wormwood. The other takes you to the city of lighter load. One road yields a foothold for the devil to climb into your heart, for Satan to get in there and really mess with your heart and your mind. The other one yields grace extended out to you by God. The other one, the better boulevard, extends the grace of God every time there is this crossroads of hurt or disappointment or many other things. Hebrews, the author of Hebrews in 12:15 says this, look after each other so that none of you fails to receive the grace of God. It's right there. Watch out that no poisonous root of bitterness, we're going to talk about this. Watch out that no poisonous root of bitterness grows up to trouble you, corrupting many. I'm going to say that again because I messed it up really badly. Look after each other so that none of you fails to receive the grace of God. Watch out that no poisonous root of bitterness grows up to trouble you, corrupting many. Wow, that is a powerful verse on how to keep great friendships. Bitterness in Greek is this word pikria. The root word is pikros. And this root word has a lot to do with bitter, acrid, or malignant. These are bad words to think of anything being in our body, let alone our soul. It even has hints, this root word, pikros, it even has hints of possibly sharpness, like you just swallowed a bag of broken glass. Because that's what bitterness is. It's swallowing a bag of broken glass. The biggest reason we cannot keep friends is that we have not handled offenses well. We've been hurt, embarrassed, or confronted by someone, and we felt that our only option was to hold a grudge, pull away, because that would certainly teach them a lesson. Did you hear that? We feel like they deserve it. We feel like it is owed to us to hold a grudge. It is owed to us to pull away, and that certainly will make them reconsider what they've done. It's wild how we do this in our own heart. And it's like each grudge has been stored away with other grudges, and soon we are just living a bitter life of recirculated hate. I can tell you, I know people that are just simmering in a life of recirculated hate. Like it is just, they're just in a crock pot of bitterness. How many people are on your enemy list versus your friend list? I mean, think about this. How many people are on your enemy list? How many people do you feel like you're punishing by pushing them away? That's what this is all about. This whole idea of bitter or better, this whole idea of offenses, this whole idea of not making reconciliation. The Bible is filled with stories of reconciliation and redemptions, but we don't feel that it is fair that someone that has hurt us gets off so easily. And we want to be forgiven for things. We want to be understood. We want to have people reconcile back to us, and we want to be reconciled for sure to God. but we do not believe that should happen for others. We still hold on to the fact that they should pay for what they've done. Turns out we're the ones that pay. We pay by taking Bitter Boulevard, right, and ending up in the city of Wormwood. Wormwood is a bitterness. It could be used as a poison, but it's mostly just this idea that it's a bitter, comes from some kind of bitter herb. And it's just not a great place to live in the city of Wormwood. Number 3, keeping great friends. Number 3, the antidote is humility. And I would say this, wear it often. This is out of Proverbs. Incredible. Just so crystal clear here. Proverbs 18, verse 19. An offended friend is harder to win back than a fortified city. Arguments separate friends like a gate locked with bars. Whew, man. You know, the antidote being forgiveness, this humility, incredible. One commentator wrote this, the nearness of the relation greatly heightens the provocation, and love abused frequently turns into extreme hatred. Did you hear that? The nearness of the relation or the relationship greatly heightens the provocation, greatly heightens the issue that we are seeing and feeling. And when love is abused frequently, it turns to extreme hatred. Isn't that odd? Isn't that so weird? The better the friendship, the deeper the cut or the wound. And we know this about getting cuts or wounds. We've known this since we were children. Splinters can be disastrous, and cuts. An unattended wound gets infected, right? An unattended wound gets infected. I would encourage you to wear humility. And you know what? You go first. You go first. Don't wait. Don't wait for the person that hurt you, the person that offended you. Don't wait for that. You go first. Remember, in friendship, the race to forgiveness means the first one there wins. The first one there wins. You actually have a unique advantage being on the end of a wound, the end of an offense that was done to you, because you are the one that now has power to forgive. First one there wins, racing to forgiveness. I just think that is powerful, coming right out of Proverbs. This one is incredible too. Paul talks about this, and this is out of Colossians as well. It's Colossians 3:12. Since God chose you to be the holy people he loves, you must clothe yourself with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Now, all those are incredible, and all of those are godly characteristics that we should be about, we should be putting on. But I want to pull a couple of those out of there. The Apostle Paul says, look, you should put on these kinds of shirts. You should wear this kind of clothing. When you go out to the garden, right, you wear a certain set of clothes. And when you go for a jog, you wear another. And when you go out for a job interview, you wear something nice, or you go out to dinner with friends. Same thing, you wear something nicer when you're on a job interview or you're with friends, right? Paul says there are certain kinds of outfits that match well with God's holiness. And he lists those outfits right there in Colossians. When you go to make things right with a friend, what do you wear? Paul, he may suggest an outfit for you. And for me, he might suggest an outfit for us. Paul says this, put on a nice humility shirt. Put that on first. And maybe match it with some patient pants. Match your outfit for what you are going to be facing in reconciling and coming back into a good relationship with a friend. We'll talk about it more on Father's Day, but one of the lost phrases of civility that has become difficult to say, but it opens the door to reconciliation, is these words: I'm sorry. please do this with me. Practice it right now with me. Just say this. Let's say this together. I'm sorry. Let's try it again. I am sorry. Practicing this. Put on the shirt of humility, put on the pants of patience, because that's just what it takes to keep and maintain quality friendships, to get through the tunnel of chaos. Number 4, give friends space to breathe. Don't be controlling. This comes out of one that's so, I think it's funny. It is so interesting that Proverbs even discusses it. This is Proverbs 25:17. Again, this is giving people space, right? Proverbs 25:17 says this: don't visit your neighbors too often, or you will wear out your welcome. Oh, man. Now, the word here, obviously neighbor, right? This whole idea that too much of a good thing is too much. It's, even if it's a good thing, it's just too much. The Hebrew word for weary or too much is asaba. It's satiated, or it's surfeited. It's not satiated or surfeited. It can't take any more. I love that Proverbs is straightforward with so many practical principles. This is one of them. In this proverb, the often translated word is neighbor, which is humorous because it's funny to think about that person, that neighbor that comes to mind, that just won't leave you alone. And you know this, and I know this. I've had neighbors like this. It just gets to be too much. I remember what a sweet, dear neighbor. She just kept bringing 3-day-old bread and 3-day-old muffins over to us, and she'd bring fruit that was already starting to turn, but she just wanted to come over, and we had to receive it, and then we ended up throwing it away. It was already going bad, but she just kept coming. Too much. Truth is, this word neighbor really means friend. I don't know how you are with obsessive friendships, but they are really hard to manage. When I was a teenager, I had a really good friend. We did all kinds of things together. I was having a blast. We just hung out. We got along really well. We went to each other's family events like graduations, birthday parties, and even family funerals. That's how close we were. And it was just great to have a friend that I could just be myself, right? I didn't have to worry about what others thought. I didn't have to worry about something I said or did. It's just like, he just accepted me, and we just did all kinds of things together. Well, one of these times came up. He called, and I told him I couldn't go. He was asking me to go somewhere. I don't remember where it was, and I couldn't go because I had a date with my girlfriend. That would be Robin, right? And when I said that, the phone went silent for a second. Then he awkwardly but sarcastically said, "Oh, okay, sorry I bothered you." And on the phone, I was like, "Whoa, what happened?" I was so confused. What did I do? What did I say? He asked if I could go with him, so I couldn't. I had something else going. Over the next several weeks, I started to feel like he was not happy with me spending time with anyone else. This didn't have to do just with the fact that I had a girlfriend, and spending time with her was definitely my priority. Do you know what I'm talking about? But he wasn't happy when I was spending time with other friends at all. Oh, it's like that was hard for me. Sadly, we began to grow distant, and eventually we didn't talk at all. That was the kind of tunnel of chaos more about him than it was me. I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even know how to fix it. Since then, I've reached out, we have connected, and we talk. You know, he's moved out of state, and we talk from time to time, but it wasn't nearly like we were when we were teenagers. So that's what's odd. I think that these things come up. There is a thing about having too much, this obsessiveness, and give people space. Give your friends room to breathe. Give them some oxygen without you being there all the time. Okay, I just thought that was a great point right out of Proverbs. Number 5, stir up good. Hebrews 10:24 says this: "Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and of good works." I like to say this to people all the time. The only place we're supposed to compete in the scriptures is to compete to love one another. It comes right out of Hebrews 10:24. We have a competition line in there, and we are to race to compete against each other in love. So let us think about how to motivate one another to acts of love. Remember the Apostle Paul, he said this before in this context of friendship. First Corinthians 15:33, he said that bad company corrupts good morals. Well, the opposite is also true. Good company encourages good morals. Great friends use their words wisely. And as we talked about, friends can be truthful to help us see blind spots about ourselves and to give us a better self-awareness. However, friends can also be the most effective at placing words of encouragement, even prophetic words that spur us on to head towards a destiny we would have never seen without help. I believe that under the influence of the Holy Spirit, that God uses us in each other's lives to promote good, even greatness in our future. We have the opportunity to speak life-giving, even future hope-filled projections, future hope-filled projections towards one another. This is an incredible position to be in when you're a great friend. Mark Batterson writes of this amazing backstory to Sidney Poitier and his success. In 1964, Sidney Poitier became the first black person to win an Academy Award for Best Actor. And when Sidney was just a teenager, he had auditioned for an acting role at the prestigious American Negro Theater in Harlem. He didn't get the part because he couldn't read the script. And so Poitier started working as a dishwasher. And one day, an elderly Jewish waiter saw Poitier with a newspaper and just simply said to him, "Hey, what's new in the paper?" And Sidney replied, "Well, I can't tell you what's in the paper because I can't read very well." After many weeks, this man's patience of mentoring Sidney, helping him learn to read well enough to land an apprentice role at the American Negro Theater. This man taught Sidney how to read. And when he had received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute, half a century later, he said, "I must also pay thanks to an elderly Jewish waiter who took time to help a young black dishwasher learn to read." Poitier paid tribute with the ultimate compliment. "A little bit of him is in everything I do." How many of you have received a word, a compliment, an encouragement that ended up defining not just what you do, but also who you have become? My neighbor Stan, I had a neighbor on my block when I was young, 7, 8 years old, and he said 4 words to me while working on my bike in his garage. He simply said, "You do that well." And those words changed my life forever. A complete stranger at Melodyland with a revival service that was going on said something to me and told me that God had directed him to say something to me. And so he approached me on the stairs as I was leaving, and he said, "One day you're going to be a great preacher." Well, okay, now that's debatable, but I never forgot it. And that man's words to me helped shape my calling to become a pastor. That was at 17 years old. Maybe a music teacher saw something in your ability to play an instrument and told you so. Maybe a teacher saw your gift of being a teacher long before you even saw it in yourself. I encourage you to not only make friends and be a friend, but keep your friends that can be sticky friends long enough so that you can benefit from these lifelong friendships that are so amazing. Keep them around long enough to be sticky friends. Number 6, last one, have their back. This is how to keep friendship going. Have their back. Don't let gossip get a grip on you. This is out of Proverbs 16:28. A troublemaker plants seeds of strife. Gossip separates the best of friends. Man, Proverbs 16:28. NIV says this, a perverse person stirs up conflict, and a gossip separates close friends. Don't let anything or anyone get between you and a good friend that's worth fighting for. What it's worth fighting for, it's worth keeping. Fight for those relationships because they are worth keeping. The psalmist writes about Shimei, who hated David, wanted Absalom to be king. That's David's son. And out of Psalms 7:14 through 16, Here's what the psalmist wrote. The wicked conceive evil, they are pregnant with trouble, and they give birth to lies. They dig a pit to trap others, then fall into it themselves. The trouble they make for others backfires on them. The violence they plan falls on their own heads. Wow, there is quite a bit of wisdom in that psalm. Don't fall into the pit of ugly traps filled with lies and gossip. Don't fall in with your enemy. Let your enemies do so. Let your enemies fall in. But don't fall in with them, and for sure, don't let your good friends fall in those pits. So, don't be baited. Don't fall for it. Stand by your friend. Defend your friend. This is exactly the nonsense that destroys families and churches and friendships all over the place. When I hear this kind of awful news about you, I want to know you well enough to say back, that does not sound like the friend I know. That doesn't sound like you. I want to shred the lie before it spreads even further. I want to warn the gossip to stop before there are godly consequences of such evil. I want to stand with you. I want to be, as a friend, to be that one that says, I've got your back. Wouldn't you want that? When gossip about you travels faster than truth and good news. Whew, this is exactly why these relationships are worth fighting for, and they're definitely worth keeping, as I said before. Okay? The Bible talks about this throughout probably in Proverbs, it shows up a lot. The dainty morsels mentioned in Proverbs seem tasty, but they are dainty morsels laced with dung. That's exactly what happens. The best lies have small bits of truth that you can't even understand, and they're in there. Rumors are dainty morsels that seek deep into one's heart. Proverbs 18:8 and 26:22. This proverb is written twice in the Bible. Rumors are dainty morsels that sink deep into one's heart, and it's talking about gossip. And it's talking about this whole idea that these dainty morsels are filled with dung, right? The creepy part is this. The wisdom writers make it clear that it's really more about our human desire to receive that's almost worse than the gossiper. The whisperer, as what it's translated in Proverbs. The whisperer feels compelled to share it, but we are overwhelmed with a need to hear gossip. We have to be the ones to shut it down. Here's how it is. One commentator actually spoke to this in these Proverbs and said this: so greedily do men swallow down and retain them. So this is where this commentator believes that the proverb is really focusing on us that have a willingness to receive gossip just as much as it does with those who spread these dainty morsels. After years of making friends and keeping friends and losing some, I can tell you this. Number one, great friendships do not come without work and some difficulties. They take effort, investment, and sacrifice. Number two, the great ones give back far more than I ever could have expected. And I would say most, they're in my life still today. I am a fairly loyal friend. When it comes to commitments of caring and loving and sticking with somebody, I tend to do so for a very, very long time. I would say this: it takes a lot to shake me off once I've determined to be a friend. And so, it's so bad that I have friends who rarely ever reciprocate. They rarely ever give back, right? I don't care. I like them. I love them. I'm committed to them. I call them on their birthdays with pure joy and excitement. I don't expect, I don't need anything back. I send them weird memes, or I send them Insta stories. And I don't care if they respond back or not. I just enjoy knowing that I am a friend of theirs, and I've got their back, and I've got these deep commitments to them. I pray for them when God drops their name into my mind. It is honest and it is true. Right now, I only have one enemy that I know of. And I know that God's going to bring that person around in some kind of moment of reconciliation, and I am not looking forward to it at all. I even have a couple of friends they're currently a work in progress on my end. I don't know how it will go, but I'm hoping for the best. I can tell you this, while being here at Life Center and working with and serving with other staff pastors for many years, Robin and I were a part of Life Center for 18 years, so it was a long time. We were there with several staff pastors, and you know what? The best of them, it took headbutting, it took heated arguments to get to the gold of great friendship. Each difficult situation infuriated me to no end, but I worked and they worked. I invested and so did they. And in the end, a lifelong friendship emerged between us and our families. I pray that each of us continue to work and invest in great friendships, knowing that most, if not all, will come through a tunnel of chaos, conflict, or some other major crisis. And it forces and it forges a bond that cannot be broken. This is my desire for you. I want to pray for you as we close today. God, dear God, I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult to make friends, and I personally know by experience after all these years, it is difficult to keep them. But I know by your grace and by your power that we have got capability to build incredible friendships with each other. And so my hope, my dream, God, is that each person that's listening right now will totally hear your word. They will dig into your word. They will pick up these principles and concepts to help them not only make friends, but God, to keep great friendships. And after they've gone through a tunnel of chaos or a crisis or whatever it is, that they will have richer, better, deep friendships with friends. I ask God that you would do that in their lives right now. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. Give me feedback. Let me know how many friends you have. Let me know how many enemies you have. I don't mind at all. Glenn@lifecenterchurch.com. Love to hear from you. God bless you as you make and keep great friends.